Hello, role players. It's Tim Kark here again, and you may notice that I changed from referencing you as gamers. A lot of that has to do with some of the controversy and the fact that I want to distinguish what you and I do from video gamers. They basically have usurped the word and have done so for a while now, but that's alright. They can have it. To tell you the truth, I am more into role playing than I am into most other forms of gaming. I do enjoy video games quite a bit, and I have addressed issues with people's behavior in the past, which I won't be doing in this video. Instead, I'm going to talk about future plans for Silverlion Studios. Very soon, hopefully, with any luck, I will have all the feedback necessary to finish up Hearts and Souls 2nd Edition. I'm just waiting on feedback and a few little bits to then go through and write up a few villain roster bits, and we'll be all ready to go with the Kickstarter. Now, when I say that, I mean I'm ready to produce the game and put it out there. But the biggest problem I'm having is Kickstarter rewards, the things you get for paying a little more or for us beating certain, add-ons, beating certain dollar amounts. If you have any ideas, I'm certainly welcome to it. I have looked into the pricing of toys and miniatures, and they are both way too prohibitive unless people expect me to put the minimum price of my game in order to pay for those factors at over $100 per unit for a print book, and I'm not willing to do that. Unfortunately, 3D modeling, the cheapest 3D modeling I found is close to $300 per character. And that, even if I just did a handful of supervillains, that's still, 10 or so, that's still $3,000 right there that I'm taking out of the fund that could be used for better art, better layout, and more useful back rewards, in my opinion. Because, let's be honest, a toy or an action figure is probably going to sit on somebody's shelf. You might use the supervillains. If I were using miniatures, you might use the supervillains on your tabletop, but not everybody does. I know I don't, and so that's a limited purchase-in kind of item. It's nice, believe me, I would love to do it, but that means I would have to ask significantly more money from the people out there, and I don't want to do that. I want to produce a good game. I want to make it as inexpensively as possible and still have high production quality and high quality art and just be a useful game full of lots of different tools. Anyway, however, so if you have ideas, let me know. I will be doing paper standees of some kind. I'm also getting adventure writers together to add on. Adventure writers are, relatively speaking, high quality people who work relatively inexpensively, at least compared to most writing payments situations. So, it's one of those things, is like they're willing to work for a decent amount of money, but not obscene amounts of money. And that is workable. It won't cost you much more, and most of the adventures will be things for higher level Kickstarters. I have pulled out the setting out of Hearts and Souls core book, simply because I can't get it the way I want it, and I'm tired of messing with it. And I figure if I can take some extra time after the book is out, once the book is out and the rules are settled, I can work on it, and I will get a setting to add in as either a Kickstarter reward or something I can do another Kickstarter for and make it worthwhile. Because at this point, I have about 3 chapters worth of setting material that are there, and I don't find that substantial enough for going forward this time, especially since I'm not entirely happy with it. And I think it will just take me a lot more inspiration and time, and of course reading comic books. Oh my god, the horror, and reading comic books to get the kind of setting I want out of it. However, that does not mean there are not going to be elements of the setting in the core book. In fact, the supervillains are going to be from the setting. They're going to be examples. There are going to be several drop-in locations that you can just take and go pop into your own setting if you so choose. And there are going to be a few different kinds of those things, like one One of the examples is going to be Retroville. Retroville is a location that exists in the Sentinel City universe, in the AMP universe, or what is sometimes called the AMP universe. But I don't want to use AMP too much because there's actually now a role-playing game out called the AMP role-playing game Year One, and it's a fantastic game, but it's a very different kind of superhero game than mine. But the AMP universe is mine, and it's the setting's name. But you will get the Retroville as a drop-in piece of material, and some supervillains with that belong to that location. And you will get some little bitty highlights of cool things that you can use to change any mundane city of a significant size by simply adding this flavor area, this flavor neighborhood. And I'm going to give you a couple of those from the setting that can basically be dropped in anywhere because they stand out as being different and unique for what they do. I'm also going to include discussions of technology, discussions of magic, a little bit, but most of it's going to be stuff found in the bestiary and the Watch threat report. I will include organizations. Osiris is an organization from my setting. Badge is an organization from my setting under Osiris. And then there is Watch, which is sort of separate from those two. Osiris stands for the Office of Superhuman Intervention, Investigation, Research, and Intervention Support. They're basically the guys who find out how to deal with superhumans. They figure out how to build prisons for the supervillains. They figure out how to assist superheroes in their job. They study the phenomena of super beings from magical to technological, and they're called Osiris. Underneath them is Badge, which is also an acronym, which stands for Bionically Augmented Department for Greater Enforcement. And what those are cybernetic cops, people who've been wounded in their police duties, and they have been rebuilt using technology Osiris pioneered decades ago, but have advanced since then. And they are sort of your SWAT team for dealing with known superpowers. They have a SWAT team. You know, most police have SWAT teams. Well, some police offices locations will also have a badge office with a handful of slightly better than even SWAT officers in terms of training skills and technology to deal with superpowered beings. And they, in my games, are usually friendly with the superheroes because they recognize that some of the supervillains out there can wipe out cities, and it's up to the heroes to deal with that kind of power level because even Badge can't match them. But the flavor the individual flavor of your own city by dropping in the organization badge will be left to you. The same thing with Osiris and the Watch. Watch is basically my big global organization that deals with terrorism, superhuman threats, and so on. And in general, I'm going to give you a bunch of stuff from my setting. I'm just not going to give you the city itself and the details of the city, and its history is still going to be in the book. So you can see where I've been building those pieces, and I'm keeping them. But I'm not going to give you an actual map laid out version of the city with the neighborhoods and everything else, because I'm still looking for that final spark to ignite that into a whole thing. That doesn't mean there won't be a lot of tools, a lot of options, and a lot of background information taken from my world that you can use. In fact, that's kind of why I'm pulling the city out, is because not everybody wants to use a fictional city, because they either come off as being homages and pastiches or being too weird to really relate to because of the way comic books have done for years. And I would much rather work on it a little more. And if it's going to be homage or pastiche, or if it's going to be more unique, which it's kind of a hybrid somewhere in the middle, because I like a little bit of both, that way it will be a truly outstanding city supplement that you can have either for kickstarting or for coming back later and kickstarting it as a separate product. I don't know at this time how I'm going to do it. A lot of that will depend on if people reach the Kickstarter level that sounds like they really want that piece of product from the Kickstarter. Well, then we'll do it and we'll get it made. It will take longer. While the core role-playing game will be ready to go, when I launch the Kickstarter, not all of the backer rewards and everything else will be, because most of those will require money taken from the actual Kickstarter to pay for. It's just the way things work. You know, because the cost for producing a game is significant enough unless you are a do-it-all-in-one person. You can do your own art, you can do your own layout, you can do your own editing, and I am not, unfortunately, skilled at any of those three things. Writing, creating ideas, those are I'm good at, and ideas are a dime a dozen, so, you know, don't necessarily say, oh my god, that guy may be brilliant, or that guy may be stupid. They're easy, but making them your own thing is what's important. And that's what I generally encourage through these videos. So I'm going to give you some ideas. You take them, make them your own thing for your own setting, and rock, or eventually you can pick up my setting and use it. But Hearts and Souls will still maintain, it's got the historical timeline, it's got the setting bits you'll drop into, it's got charts for rolling up random events on patrols or daily life events that you might want to throw in to spice up a particular game. It's got the Watch's threat report. So far, that's only got generic monsters, giant monsters like Daikaiju, and you know, giant sharks, and a few alien species that default to the AMP world. But also, I will be adding to that specific NPCs and specific locations like Zenovia, Atlantis, Lemuria, and Mu. Which, yeah, one of these things is not like the other. One of them is a Middle Eastern nation that happens to be a technologically enshrouded protectorate for a particular supervillain. The others are just nations under the sea that have their own sort of histories and backgrounds that intertwine because, you know, why not? Our history intertwines with a lot of other nations in our world. So why don't Atlantis and Lemuria and Mu have history together or descend from the same common source? But in general, it will be stuff that you can take and drop. Everything from Subterra, which are the subterranean nations, flow nations, which are the nations that exist on top of our lava flows, hidden under the earth, and so on. I don't know yet if I'm going to put in stuff beyond the earth, because there are some things I would like to throw in beyond the just suggestions of where the aliens are from, like facilities out in space, in our near space, like on the moons of Io, or our own moon. So we'll see if I get that in the book or not. Right now the core rules are done, right now the timeline is done, right now the setting is done, and I am just working on the final little bits. But I need feedback on those things. So if you're interested in giving feedback, give me a holler, I'll send it to you. And at this point, feedback is fine, of any kind. I don't really want editing stuff because I will pay somebody professionally to do that. You know, if you want to look it over and say, well, you could fix this sentence, I'm not going to be upset. But don't go through it and do every sentence. Just, you know, that's fine. I will pay people for that. It's appreciated if you do it, but it's not required or expected. But mostly give me feedback on the general flow of the game, on the general consensus of how the rules are put together, that kind of thing. I did finally get all 3 character creation methods in the book. I'm not entirely happy with them, but as much as any character creation is ever going to create something as wide, robust, and completely crazy as a superhero character, they're workable. They work very well. They're very fun for me. I mean, I enjoy them. The only way I could make them really better would be to be able to take out what you want and run it through a computer program and give me options. So, with the limits of a tabletop role-playing game, we're there. So very shortly, which could be 3 to 6 months, but very shortly in the time spirit of game writing, for me anyway, we'll be doing a Kickstarter. As much feedback as you want to give me, and we'll get going forward on this. And then we're ready to go. So I just wanted to give people a little bit of where I am with Hearts and Souls 2nd edition, and I will probably do a little bit more rambling about it before we actually get to Kickstartering it. In other news, I have managed to talk my friends into letting me run a horror game for the Halloween holiday, and I think that's going to be quite a bit fun because I've told them you may not make it out alive, and that generally is kind of fun for a horror game if people die left and right. Anyway, take care. Glad to have you in the role-playing community. If you've never been here before, welcome aboard. And I don't care what your sex, your gender, your race. I don't much care about your age as long as your parents are okay with it. But welcome aboard role-playing, and I hope you've found this video a little more enlightening about the process of all the little pieces that have to be put together in a tabletop role-playing game, because there are so many. It's like juggling popcorn, a whole bag of popcorn. It's not an easy thing, but it will get done. Thanks. Peace.